Alrighty. Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to June's edition for Logic Apps Live. I'm joined with your normal host here, Kenton Wagner, and we've got a lot of content for you guys today. We can go ahead and skip to the agenda. All right, so I'm here to announce the Ace Aviator of the Month and a lot of, event and community announcements. And then we've got Wagner talking with us about automated testing framework with a little sneak peek for that. And then Kent will be chatting with us about integration environment and business process tracking updates. We've got some hybrid deployment model stuff for you, a lot of custom code updates, and then some feedback asked for some rule engines, followed by our normal Q&A. So let's go ahead and chat about our June's Ace Aviator. So this month, we're honoring Sebastian Meyer for Ace Aviator. He's a senior lead architect at Quibic, and also I did not put this in there, but he's also leading the German branch for Aviators, another kind of community-led Aviators version, but for Germany. So definitely go check out a lot of his stuff for the Germany side. But one of the things from his interview that we wanted to chat with you about, a tip from him, was think before you create. He definitely talked about double checking what you're doing is really necessary. A lot of new technology is being created these days, so definitely make sure you're thinking about what it is you really need for your project. And then just another, moment from his interview that we have. Everyone plays this crucial role in, our circle of continuous learning. So make sure you're participating, no matter if you're a beginner or expert. You definitely have something to bring to the table. So definitely make sure to go check out the June edition so you guys can read more about Sebastian and all of his hard work that we've been doing with the community. And also make sure to keep posting your own content to the Logic Apps Aviators hashtag so that you could be the potential next Ace Aviator of the month. Whether you're speaking, you're writing a blog, we've got a video, make sure you're always posting your content with that hashtag so we can honor you. And then we got some other announcements. Very exciting. We are having another Logic Apps Community Day. We had this one in about June of last year. This year it will be on September 26th. And we still have our call for speakers open. It ends this Sunday. So make sure that if you're wanting to potentially participate in Community Day, whether that's a 10, 15-minute lightnings talk, or you've got a larger session to share with the community, we would really love to hear from you and make sure that you're participating. If you want to learn more about the dates and signing up and how you can get involved, check out that link. We can drop it in the chat as well. It'll be aka.ms/Logic Apps Community Day. So definitely go check it out, and we would love to hear from you and see you on Community Day. Alrighty, and I'll pass it off to Wagner to chat with you guys about some cool little sneak peeks.
Yeah, I think that's with me now. So we're going to be showing you a little bit of what we're planning for the Logic Apps automated testing framework. And let's start talking a bit about what is the approach that we're taking for that, right? So the idea is allow you to actually creating unit tests to run those tests automatically. And probably the first thing that you would be asking is, what is Logic Apps on a new what is Logic Apps unit test in this concept, right? So what you define as a unit test. For us, the unit test is not testing a single action or a piece of a workflow, but actually testing a workflow scenario. And more than that, is testing a workflow scenario based on a set of control inputs, right? So with removing as much as possible those external dependencies, so you're actually testing the logic of your workflow instead of the connectivity and the having the dependency of the information being available on the external systems. So from a goals point of view, we're trying to decouple that logic from that external connectivity, as we said. We wanted to improve that productivity, allowing you to actually repeat those tests every time that you make changes on your workflow. And also increase the code quality both locally as part of your development lifecycle, but also during the building process, so that you're able to guarantee the quality of your code going to the other environments. From an approach, and you're going to talk a lot more about that later on, we wanted to meet the developer where it's most comfortable, right? So with that, we are trying to give you both a codeless approach that are going to be give you a sneak peek in a minute. So when you're saying codeless, is taking the same kind of paradigm that you have today to create logic apps with a visual designer that resembles a lot logic apps designer, and allow you to create mocks, to create assertions, and to save that, right? When you're talking about the Codeful Approach, is allowing you to take your unit test framework of choice initially on .NET, and from there you'll be able to mock actions, to execute your workflow directly from your code, and having the result ready for you to make accessions using the accession set from your unit test framework. On both cases, doesn't matter which one you're using for authoring. We wanted to make sure that we give the same fidelity that you have from running those logic apps manually and then evaluating visually the results. We wanted to make sure that you have the same fidelity. So the execution engine is based on the logic apps runtime, and actually inject the mocks at the point where you would be doing the external calls. So doesn't matter if you're using the codeless, you're using the Codeful, both of them are going to be using the same execution engine that is going to resemble a lot the actual execution of a workflow. From a target scenario point of view, we wanted, of course, to help the local testing during the development lifecycle, but we also wanted to give like a repeatability test suite for your system verification. So if you're doing testing from on-ramp, off-ramp of your workflows, you would be able to reuse part of that. And also test verifications on your build process, which means that you would be able to inject that execution engine that we talk as part of your build process as a CLI command. Just giving like a visual representation of that approach, as you're saying, I would have from one side authoring using the Logic Apps Unit Test visual editor, right? And that editor would allow you to mock components and assert components. The result of that, and you're going to see that in a minute, is actually a test definition that has a set of mocks for that test and a set of assertions. If you go into the Codeful Approach, you would have like using your .NET test framework and a Logic Apps Unit SDK. Unit Test SDK. With that, you would be able to write test methods where you have the mocking, you having a way to do the execution, and then the accessions coming from your unit test framework of choice, right? From an execution point of view, you would be able to get that one or more of those test definitions and push into the test runner, right? And on that, we integrating with the VS Code test API. So that means that you would be able to see this running on VS Code, taking like all the visual hints that you're getting from VS Code. But if you're running that from the Codeful view, we're using the same engine with the set of execution APIs, which means that you can send the execution interface with your logic apps definition and your mock, and it's going to return for you the workflow result. From here, you continue doing assertions as part of your workflow, right? While on the codeless, the test would be passed, and the execution engine would be responsible for both do the test execution of the workflow and the accessions, because you put in everything together. On both cases, you would have like your test report with the pass fail and some of the which accessions passed or failed. So let's take that and take a sneak peek of what we have working today for that, right? We're going to have a private preview soon, so keep an eye on that. And before I go to VS Code, just a disclaimer, all of that is code that is still on development, right? I'm going to be doing that live, but expect some things not to be like super polished yet because we're running that live. So what I have here is a logic app, right? And I have two workflows for that logic app. Let's take a look at take a quick look of them. One, I have a check updates where I receive a request with a well-defined schema, right? And then after that, I do like a set of variables. I call an external system, receive the result, pass the JSON for that, and then depending on the type of message that I receive on the order status, if the order status is either received or processed, I make my allow changes variable to true, right? And if I do that, I wanted to compose that that input with like allow ordering, passing the changes. Then I'll compose the response combining both the outputs of my pass JSON and that allow processing. So the results of that HTTP and the allow processing, and I return. So the logic that I wanted to test here is I wanted to test, like, depending on the type of message that I receive on that request, if my variable was set to true, and if my allow processing JSON was created the right way. Okay, so let's create a unit test for that. So on that, I'll go create unit test, and this is like a test LA live process through. When that starts, now I have like that logic apps definition that we see with some new points here, right? You see that when an HTTP request and HTTP, which is actions that either trigger the workflow or go outside, have this new icon here. The rest of the process is the same. And those are the actions that can be mocked, right? So what I'm doing here now is mocking the result for that logic app. And in my case, because I had the schema, I represent the schema of that mocking here. So I can say order ID 1234. The order date is 2024-06-28. I'm leaving the future. Then I can add an order. You see that I also take care of arrays. So item 1, item name, Brazil coffee, because it's 6 a.m. here in New Zealand and I didn't have coffee yet, right? I was going to have 2 of those with the price $10. Then I'll make that $20. See that because in the schema that value was set as integer, we taking like all the same visual hints and the same things that you get from the designer reflected here. So when I fix this, it's back. If you needed to provide headers, if headers are important for your evaluation, you would be able to add headers, the path parameters and queries, just like what you would be receiving, right? But with that, I have that first mock created. The second mock here, what I needed to do is I needed to provide an order ID, and most important, I needed to provide the order status. So order ID, and that's 1234, and order status. Just needed to double check that I have the right format. Order status is going to be received. Okay, so this is what I wanted to test to make sure that it goes through the switch to allow receive, and then with that I process the rest. So let me save this one for now, right? I just wanted to make sure that I have this those values correct. So I had a different one here, and I also wanted to show you the format that this logic app, this unit test takes when you're creating. So here's what we just created, right? So far, I don't have any sessions yet. I wanted to double check this value here. Order ID lowercase, order status uppercase. Okay. I can even come here and make changes here as well. Right? So now I'm ready to go and do some adding some sessions for that. So I can go and edit that unit test. Where's my edit unit test? I can edit from here. So open, like all the things that I had was preserved here. Right? Let's add some assertions. So I'll add one assertion, and that assertion is check allow change true or assert. Enter a description. This is live. Please work. Right? That's not the right description, but you get the idea. When you come to conditions, like what is the condition that we're going to evaluate for that assertions, we take in advantage of what we already have in terms of our conditional expressions, right? So our logic expressions. So we're not creating something new. We're just using the logic functions that we already have. So in this case, what I wanted to test if it equals my variable allow change is true, right? Then I can save that unit test. And with that unit test is ready for me to run. And I can run that in isolation. I don't need to use anything from the runtime. So I'm going to take that logic app that we just created, right? I can even double check the code here. If everything that I added is here, it's fine. So let's see if it's running. And fingers crossed that I didn't do anything wrong. So it starts running. It's doing some verification. And I made something wrong on that one. So I probably created something wrong on that particular one. Let me run the one that I had before. As I said, all of that is live with code that is still under development. So we're expecting some of those things. There we go. That one that I had created yesterday, like tested properly, is working fine. One of the things that we can see is if it being executed, and even if it failed, you can come and take a look at the unit test results, right? So in this case, I have my test that I just run it today, and you can see the you can see that the things, what passed, what failed. If any one of those failed, it would be showing here. And the other thing is later on, you would be able to also show the run history associated to that, so you can find out if something went wrong. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to show that we're going to have available on this for private preview is, let's take a look and run this logic app, because I actually did some debugging before, and I had some of this workflow already with some data. And instead of me having to go and recreating all of that data, one of the things that I can do is actually get an existing run and creating a unit test for that. So in this case, now I'm going to be open that process message. I wanted to take a look at the overview. And on that overview, I had like two executions, right? So I'll take a look at one of those. I have a message. It started with a pick lock message, and one detail is that one was actually using the manage connector, right? So the data is even harder to manage because I have content data in base 64 and things like that. Then I had an execution operation that goes and returns some data. And if it's okay, I have the complete message. So I can go ahead and create a unit test from that execution. And that is the test LA live check message. And with this, it brings me that already with the check message all parameterized. The execution operation with the result, you're going to see that the body is actually added, but it's not showing here because of the bug that you have right now. And the complete message, which only have the status code 200, right? So I'll save that unit test, and I'm not going to add much more on that, because the only thing that I wanted to do here is show that it was this one, process message. It created the thing with all the data that we had available on our run for that, including the content data in base 64 and all of this. So from here, I could go create new assertions and then complete and execute that. Okay. So let's go back to the presentation with this. That's a quick sneak peek. As I said, we are working on polishing that a little bit, fixing some bugs that we found, and we're going to have that in private preview soon. I'm going to put a link in a minute for that. But continue that discussion. Let's take a look at what the Codeful approach would look like. So if you wanted to write that as code instead of using the advantage of there, and there are some scenarios where that would be useful, like you have something that is really complex to mock, but it's easier to mock as a little bit of code, or if you have like a lot of other information from an array that you needed to iterate to create, all of this would be like really not necessarily hard, but tedious to create or complex to create on the visual editor, right? In this case, what you could do is using the Codeful approach to write some of those unit tests. And the idea is that you actually could have those two running in parallel. We could run some of the unit tests using the codeless approach, some of the others using your Codeful approach if you want to, or choose the one that works best for you. But in this case, what you have is like the ability to create a list of mocks and presenting like what is the action, and either injecting a JSON file or creating your thing itself, or even better, actually creating a method that is going to generate that. And in this case, if that method is creating like this, is going to be injected at the point where the mock runs. So that means if you have like things that are changes on every on every step, it would be taking the current context to create that, right? Then you would also have a way to reference your workflow definition, the latest version of your workflow definition. Once you have that ready, what you can do is actually using the SDK to actually execute the workflow on your behalf, so you don't have to instantiate an HTTP endpoint and all that kind of stuff, as we're doing today with the other Codeful experiences that we have, and receive a result, right, which is going to be execution result type. And then you do your accessions yourself, right, using the unit test of preference. In this case, it was using XUnit. Before we go ahead, just some disclaimers. This is, no pun intended or pun intended, literally a mock of how the code could look like, right? Which means that the principles for that are the same that you're going to see here, like those four main pieces. Be able to mock, be able to call the execution programmatically from the middle of your method, and then be able to assert using your unit test of choice, plus be able to dynamically create those mocks. But the naming and the convention might change a little bit, right? Because all of that is still currently on design. Our priority at this stage is going to be putting the codeless in private preview, so you can get a lot more, getting a lot more view on that, because we needed to validate a whole lot of stuff. Then after that, we're going to be doing a private preview of the Codeful. Talking about private preview, if you wanted to join the private preview, here is the link and the QR code. I'm going to be adding that to the chat session in a minute, right? So in the meantime, any questions on that? So like, do we have any questions on how that's looking like? Any feedback? Are we going the right direction, or should we pivot on something different?
Nothing in chat just yet.
Okay, so I'll keep that in mind. I'll take a look at chat and put the copy of the private preview link there. And with that, I think I'll pass it on to you, Kent. I'll share your screen, and we can go from there. I think you just needed to start at
Oh, that's interesting, because I'm in full screen. Hold on here.
I just needed to change to share the other one.
Okay, if you want to re-add it, it should be okay now. All right. Hi, everyone.
Oh, sorry. There we go. No?
I think it just, yeah, there we go. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us again today. I have a few updates to share just with respect to integration environment and business process tracking, and then also hybrid as well. So we've previously released integration environment and business process tracking in public preview at last Ignite in November. And since then, we've made some updates. Want to share those updates with you all today. Integration environment is a way for you to go ahead and manage and provide a common area for managing your resources. On top of this, we're also finding ways to build monitoring capabilities as well for those resources. When it comes to business process tracking, naturally, we want to bring business context to integration by tracking key business data and allow those business stakeholders to go ahead and to be able to use it. Now, what we've recently released in Integration Environment is a feature we're calling end-to-end AIS monitoring. This is in public preview. And within an integration environment, you're going to find applications. Within an application, we've introduced this new application monitoring tab and the insights feature. Now, how this works is that we actually go ahead and leverage application insights to pull in data for these resources that are configured as part of your application. Now, we've predefined 3 different reports, one for Logic Apps, one for Service Bus, one for API management. And then we've got a series of tabs here that you can further investigate and explore. When you look at runs, it's going to remind you an awful lot of run history. From there, you're going to have the ability to deep link directly into a run history instance. Also have the ability to go ahead and resubmit if that's of interest to you as well. Now, we offer similar experiences for Service Bus and for API management. Once again, all leveraging the same App Insights instance. And the value here in my mind is just so you don't have to go ahead and jump all over the place in order to follow those breadcrumbs to see how your application is performing. You can go ahead and just, explore through using these tabs and not having to go ahead and create multiple instances in your browser and then have to hunt and find all of these different resources. So this is something that should be quite useful, should help with some productivity for operational purposes. And this is also something that we're still early in investing on. So would love any feedback that you folks have. And for this and even beyond this, we're still sort of very early in our investments for integration environment. Would love to hear from you and would love to better understand what your needs are and then be able to meet and collect that feedback from you. So definitely interested in more of that. Next up, we'll talk a little bit about business process tracking. And so this is another feature that is in public preview. Now, one of the changes that we have made is that business process tracking is now a top-level resource. Now, with it becoming a top-level resource, that introduces a few other new capabilities, including more granular RBAC, because it is an Azure resource. If you want to apply locks or tags, you certainly can go ahead and do that at the resource level itself. From a functional perspective, the biggest investment we've made here is around business process stage status and the ability to define successful and failed statuses. And so what you can see here on the screen is we've got a series of green stages. Those represent situations where that stage has completed successfully. We've captured the data that you're interested in, and we've published that over to ADX. Now, when it comes to the red rectangle we see here, that's a situation where a customer can go ahead and configure what a failed status means. Now, this could be for technical reasons. So maybe you've got a try-catch scope and you've caught an exception and you want to be able to report that. You could go ahead and use workflow expressions and call that a failure. Similarly, if you had a business exception, perhaps like inventory out of stock, that might be a situation where you flag that as a business error because technically everything did complete, but the business goal or objective wasn't completed. So once again, you've got full control over how those are defined. Now, we've also made a few other incremental investments here as well around transaction ID expressions being supported, being able to use variables as part of your tracking data, and then correctly emitting Boolean values at runtime. And those are all sort of tweaks that we've made here recently as well. Now, we did talk about how we decoupled business process tracking from integration environment, but that doesn't change the vision here of bringing these experiences together. And so we do allow you to link a business process to an integration environment and application. And this will still allow you to go ahead and have that one-stop shop to find your different telemetry. The other sort of side benefit of this is that when you create an application, you also don't have to specify an ADX instance. So if that was a barrier for you previously, that's no longer the case. You can freely create those applications without needing to identify an ADX instance. All right, switching gears here a little bit, let's talk about hybrid deployment model. So this is something that's in an early access preview. You can think of this kind of like a private preview. And the goal here is to allow customers to deploy Logic App standard workloads to customer managed infrastructure. Now, that can include on-premises, that could include a private cloud, or even another public cloud if you wish. Now, the architecture that we're going after is semi-connected. Now, what does that mean? So what that means is that you have local processing. So all of the executions happen on your infrastructure. The run history, the traces, all of that goodness is stored locally. Now, in this case, that's going to be in a SQL Server database. And naturally, because this is customer managed infrastructure, it's yours. The ability to connect to local networks is right there. You'll be able to connect to your on-premises systems without any additional network hops. Now, one question people have then is, okay, if all of this is running locally, how do I go ahead and manage this? And this is part of the reason why we call it semi-connected. So you do use the Azure portal to go ahead and have a unified management experience. However, the data still is on premises. So we will use Arc and our control plane to go ahead and query your data. So if you're looking for your run history, the data is actually on premises or in your infrastructure. However, it will temporarily get surfaced in the Azure portal itself. Now, under the hood, we are using containers as a way to execute this and deploy all of these solutions. And we are leveraging the Azure Container App Connected Environment as that hosting environment for these containers. You can see we are in an early access preview, and we are targeting a public preview later this summer. Later this summer, we will also be able to provide the billing model. So here's a little bit of our feature set. This is what you can expect currently. And we've got support for .NET 8. That's something that's recently being introduced. We've got SQL as a storage provider. We do have target-based scaling, and we do have persistent storage for your customer artifacts, meaning there's no dependency on Azure to go ahead and to use this from an artifact perspective. Now, from a public preview, we do have a few work items that we are focusing on: the file connector that will use the SMB protocol. And then we've got a few dependencies on .NET Framework. So we've got the SAP connector, the support for BizTalk Maps, the XSLT 1.0 that includes the scripting functoid that use .NET Framework, and then also the .NET Framework custom code feature. Those are all things that we are working on. As you can imagine, when we talk about containers, we're talking about Linux and Windows, and .NET Framework usually runs on Windows, but we've got a solution for that. So we're happy to share more info as we get closer to that. We do have a schema update for SQL storage. And as I mentioned before, we will have the billing model when it comes to public preview. Here is a very short demo. What you can kind of see here is that we've got our application. Like, this is going to go ahead and look and feel like Logic App Standard as it should. The difference will be this isn't running in a workflow service plan. This is running in a connected environment in a container. Here you can see we've got the image that Microsoft will provide that includes our runtime, and then all of your artifacts will be deployed into persistent storage beside the image itself. When we look at the workflows experience, we will go ahead and be able to see run history. We will be able to see schemas and maps if we've got artifacts. And this will look and feel exactly like Logic App Standard, and it should, because this still is Logic Apps Standard. Now, if you are interested in joining this early access preview, here's a link. We'll go ahead and add this to the chat to submit a nomination. And we're happy to work with you, get your feedback, and would love to have you go ahead and try out this hybrid deployment model. This will hit public preview quite soon, but the earlier people participate, the earlier we can prioritize that feedback and give people the opportunity to shape the roadmap as well. And then Parth, did you want to talk to this one? Or I guess I'll speak to this one. You'll speak to the next one. Sorry. So this is another feature that recently has been released in public preview. This builds on top of our .NET Framework experience that we did GA last October. And we had a lot of great feedback about the feature. People were excited for it. But the number one question was, what if we're not using .NET Framework? Like, how can we get access to a newer version of .NET? And the answer is, here you go. We now support .NET 8. This is in public preview, but the good news is the experience is exactly the same. When you go through the wizard and you're using a workspace that Wagner was talking about, you will now get prompted if you want to have custom code. Do you want to select .NET Framework or do you want to select .NET 8? Depending upon which option you choose, we will load the corresponding functions project that has the correct build tasks that target the right framework. But from an experience perspective, it works exactly the same. The difference being you have the access to the latest version of .NET 8. So we're pretty excited about that. Definitely go ahead and try it out. It's in public preview. It's available today. So we'll jump ahead here. And Parth, I'll hand it over to you to take care of this one.
Thanks, Ken. Yeah, so as Ken pointed out, we have the custom code extensibility feature for you to use in VS Code. But what if you want to actually try it out, try the C# extensibility and add your logic inside of the portal, right? We do know that a lot of our users develop in portal. And what we want to support is an ability to provide you, right, like a basic inline scripting feature where you can add your own C# script. This basically will be a part of the function host process, right? And will include all the default libraries like Newtonsoft. But one thing that it does not include yet is the custom assemblies, right? That's something that we want to provide if you want to import custom assemblies before this feature goes GA. Right now, it's in public preview. And C# is out right now, right? So you can definitely try it out. As I said, like this would be stored as a .csx file inside of your workflow, not just like raw code. In fact, we're also planning to provide the extensibility for PowerShell, and that is planned for sometime this summer, which I'll keep you posted for. And obviously, with this feature, you have the token picker functionality available and basic IntelliSense, so you can access inputs and outputs from previous actions, as well as pass them to the further actions downstream in the Logic app. So do try it out, right? So you can reuse these particular outputs that come out of this inline C# action. And the main purpose for this, as mentioned in this audience section, is that when you are trying to provision a function, right, there's a lot of cost and effort that goes behind to make sure that you manage it properly, and also you're able to like connect these pieces into Logic app, right? So given that this is a built-in action and it's in app, right? So you will be easily able to simply write your script, and there's no limit, right, on how long the script is. But we do recommend that this is for simple scripting scenarios in Portal. If you want like custom assemblies and sort of getting the dynamic inputs and outputs of the C# function, like definitely use the custom code feature for VS Code. And yep, this is also going to be in a way that if you want to graduate to VS Code from Portal with the scripts you've written, you should be able to do so, right, by exporting the Logic app into VS Code. That is something that we're definitely validating and making sure that it's a bug-free experience. So let us know. Overall, like in this feature, if you'd like to see any particular improvements, I'll drop a feedback form link here. But we know that this was much demanded feature, and now that PowerShell is also going to be there, and we're pretty excited for you to try this out and let us know what you think.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, you bet.
Perfect, thank you. So I think this is the last part of the session, the last part of the content. We recently released the rules engine based on the BStock server Weare, the business rules engine from BStock server in public preview. And I'm not sure if we have spoken about this before, but the purpose is to enable customers migrating from BStock to Logic Apps. It's currently available only in Logic Apps Standard and uses currently the standalone. This is a modified version of the rules composer that we have shipped with BStock server, which is a standalone. This one is a standalone. We are supporting XML and .NET Facts, and we are keen on hearing from feedback that you might have about the feature or your scenarios at this location, aka.ms/LA rules feedback. It would be fantastic to hear from you on the scenarios that you might have, and if you have a specific needs as well on the rules engine. Okay, so that's that's all I have. I think I might have covered this before. I just wanted to make sure that you had the link for the feedback once you start testing this feature. Thank you, Wagner. Ken.
So yeah, I think that's the end of our content here. But if folks have any questions, happy to go ahead and take those on. Feel free to just drop them in chat, and we've got the team here ready to try to answer.
Yeah, that's been quite. People has been really quiet. I actually going to try to put something on my chat on on YouTube just to see if it's working, because I don't see anyone interacting today.
So one thing, maybe just to fill the void here from a time perspective, the C# scripting is something that has really taken off. So folks, that is something that we've seen a lot of traction very quickly leveraging that feature. So if folks have any sort of additional feedback or scenarios that they're envisioning, we'd love to hear it. But thus far, the response has been extremely positive. So thanks all for people that have been trying that out.
Interesting. I'm not able to send messages. Maybe that's why we didn't see anything yet.
Did you get
Because I trying to send, like, I love unit test, but I'm biased on YouTube, and it's not going. So something to talk with our Azure developers team later. Don't know if we had any issues with that.
All right. Well, I guess
that might explain.
Unless anyone has some jokes, you could probably.
I have.
To call it, but.
No knock jokes. Let's call it a day. But thanks everyone, and if you couldn't put your message here for any reason, please send that through Twitter or reach out to us LinkedIn. We really wanted feedback on what we showed today, and please join the private preview for that automated testing framework.
And one more thing,
we wanted to make sure that is in the right place. Oh, there we go.
We had a question pop up.
Yes, so seems like we finally got a question. Thanks, Warren. So regarding the logic apps testing, we'll be able to use live endpoints rather than mocking them. This is something that is on our roadmap as well. We know we know that some of the components will be able to do that live, and we're trying to unlock that to all the mockable actions, because this way you would be able to do both the unit testing, but some of those system verification testing keeping in mind, like on ramp off the integration platform. So it's definitely on the roadmap, and not sure if it's going to be the first thing to light up, but we're going to be working towards that.
One more thing I wanted to just bring up is, if there were any other topics you'd like us to cover for the next session, let us know. We are actively investing in a lot of areas, as you can see, with the topics we're covering. If there were any demos or any particular application for a feature you'd like to see, definitely let us know as we continue to bring up these new features for you.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Then with that, I think that's us for today.
Yeah, thanks everyone for
you.
joining.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay.
What is our thanks for watching this here?